Hello everyone, Theme Park Tracker here with yet another West Coast Racers construction update. But before we get to that, I'd like to point out some things that are going on around the park. Starting off with the reopening of X2 after a short downtime. The coaster was closed for about 2 weeks, and the rumor is they were waiting on a part to arrive in order to fix whatever was broken. Also, the third train has been sent away for refurbishment, but the ride still operates with 2 trains. That also means the park has no spare train in case one of the 2 operating ones breaks. Over at Twisted Colossus, we are officially down to 2 train operations with the blue and purple trains. We were running 3 trains for most of the summer, but the orange train has been taken off of the storage tracks and is about to be shipped away for refurbishment. The green train has not yet returned from refurbishment, so hopefully it'll arrive soon. The orange train was long overdue for its turn, but we are approaching the park's busiest time of the year, and that's Fright Fest, so 3 trains is a must. Nothing new over at Green Lantern other than the close sign being turned upside down. If the removal rumors are correct, then I can see them relocating this ride to another park within the Six Flags chain as their 2020 edition. The 2020 edition for Magic Mountain will most likely utilize the spot in which Green Lantern currently sits on, since they have this area that's decently themed with the backdrop buildings and it already has nice looking trees and planters all over the place. Moving on to the Boardwalk, Crazanity is closed once again. Not sure what's going on with this attraction lately, as it's been on and off the past few months. This closure happened a few days ago and some malfunction must have sprung up. This is one of the most popular rides in the park, and it's unfortunate that it's come with so many maintenance issues. Hopefully the park can get this back up and running in time for the Fright Fest crowds. Right across from that we have an open tidal wave, and it's running efficiently with 2 boats with a fairly short line. Many guests were standing on the exit bridge for a chance at getting soaked by the splashdown, which seems to get you soaked more than actually riding the attraction itself. Up by Samurai Summit we got our first look at some Fright Fest maze construction. This is definitely the same maze facade that was here last year, and it's most likely going to be the same name, Sewer of Souls. This was the newest and best maze at last year's Fright Fest event, so it's a no-brainer that they resurrect it again. I imagine most of the maze itself will be the same, as Magic Mountain traditionally recycles their mazes for multi-year uses, but we'll have to wait and see. Down by the entrances to Tatsu and Roaring Rapids is an exciting addition and something the park needs more of, and that is the new Season Cup refill station. This is very similar to the setup as the Knott's Berry Farm refill stations, where you check in with the attendant and pay the 99 cents for a refill, or scan your membership cup. I did notice some flaws already, and first of them was the attendant was not charging the guest for the 99-cent refills. Secondly, the metal fence is too close to the refill stations, and guests without season cups were filling up random containers by handing them to their friends inside. Lastly, there was an insane amount of bees surrounding the area due to the mess from the syrupy drinks. Now, I love that the park is finally adding these, but there's some issues to work out. Now, this is the part you've been waiting for, West Coast Racers, and with every update there's more and more to look at. The mini Top Gun stall above the yellow track is completed, and depending on the speed for that portion could provide some decent hang time like on the loop for full throttle. And looking at the huge figure 8 structure, the supports are pretty much all in there and slowly adding the yellow and white track to it. The white track in the distance is also new, and that's part of where you'll dive into the final figure 8 turn and then head back into the station. It's very confusing to make out the layout from the ground view, but we'll get a better look at it in a bit. Looking through the construction fence, there isn't much to report on, as most of the action is happening behind the go-kart building. Speaking of the go-karts, there's been no improvements to the station itself yet, but the park could just be waiting until track assembly is complete. We can't forget that the park still has to work on the theming for this area after track assembly is done, so we got a ways to go before this thing opens to the public. The park is promising a high level of detail for this new area, even more than the Steampunk District where Twisted Colossus and Scream sit in. One thing I noticed from the Samurai Summit walkway is this interesting construction happening right in front of the dive into the 2nd and 4th launches. At first I had no idea what this was, but due to the location I realized this was the old restroom location for Cyclone Bay, and by the looks of it, the park seems to be starting from scratch on the new restrooms, which is great news because the previous ones were very dated. I could be wrong though, and this is just an extension to the ice cream store right next to it, but the first choice seems more reasonable since the next closest restrooms are all the way by Tatsu and Justice League. Going back to the coaster and looking closely at the shot, we can see some brake fins were added onto the brake run that leads into the station. And now for footage of the construction up in the air that was sent into the channel. First impressions are, wow, they are really making some progress on this thing. All the track work is done except for the figure 8 portion, which seems like the most difficult part to assemble due to the weird pattern of supports and location of where the pieces need to go. After the track work is done, then I guess that's when we'll see the station go vertical, followed by the queue, and so on. Apocalypse still remains closed and there's no signs of testing yet. The trains were put back on the track a few weeks ago and they were previously stored underneath the storage tracks for X2. And just for fun, I included a neat comparison of what the construction looked like during the late June update. So it took them a little over a month to get from here to where they are now, and I'd say that's some decent progress. They got the stall element done and most of the figure 8 fully assembled. I'm very excited for this new ride and area to open at the park, but they still have a long ways to go. I just hope they don't rush the thing in the end and get it open, for example, not finishing the area or cutting things that were in the concept art. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this update, and let me know down in the comments below when you think West Coast Racers will open. Thank you again, and please subscribe to the channel for more updates on Six Flags Magic Mountain and other parks in Southern California.